Martin never thought the sky could scream. But as his shuttle spiraled down through the rust-colored atmosphere of Zyos, trailing smoke and shards of burning alloy, the sky did just that. It shrieked like metal being torn from bone, like stars. Wailing in protest, his hands bled from clawing at the manual override. His lungs burned from the stinging thin air, and his ears rang from alarms that had stopped mattering minutes ago. Then silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that thrums. With aftermath, he crawled from the wreckage, half-scorched suit clinging to his back, and surveyed the shattered canyon where his ship had cratered. Red cliffs like jagged teeth rose all around him. Above, the clouds churned with static, bruised violet and gray. He stumbled, walked, ran. Somewhere behind, something massive moved. It had downed him. That much he knew. Not a storm, not pirates. Something older, something hunting. His wrist comp flickered once before shorting completely. He remembered an abandoned mining outpost marked on the map, a relic from a corporate push that failed decades ago. He aimed his body there like a dart. By the time he found it, he could hardly breathe. The shelter's door, a huge iron slab, loomed from the rock wall like a buried tomb. He slammed into it, chest heaving, fingers scrabbling for the manual lever. It took everything he had to wrench it down. The door groaned and slid shut behind him, sealing with a deep, resonant boom. Silence again. He collapsed, head against cold metal, limbs trembling. But even here, in the dark, he wasn't alone. The emergency lights flickered green. Dim shadows danced over rusted machinery and broken crates. But one shadow didn't move. It stood at the far end of the room. Tall. It stepped forward. A figure, fluid and silent, gliding more than walking. 13 feet at least. Blue skin, twilight dark, shimmered with a strange energy. A suit hugged her form, black as the void. Her hair, long and braided with silver rings, moved like water in low gravity. Martin froze. She didn't attack. She turned to the bulkhead door instead. With one hand, she touched the panel he'd fought to engage. It opened to her, sighing like. It recognized her touch. She adjusted something. The locks re-engaged, but harder, deeper. Then the panel lit red. Final lock, when she turned to him. Her golden eyes scanned him without emotion. He raised his hands. I don't want trouble. Her voice came low, melodic, vibrating in his bones. You expend energy uselessly. Be still. He backed up, step by step, toward an old workbench. He glanced at a wrench. I have tracked you since your vessel fell, she continued. You are resilient. What do you want? It is time to claim you. His brain caught on the word. Claim me. We are both hunted. My ship is crippled. Yours is gone. They will scour this moon. In such moments, my kind bond. Survival protocol. Your life is now as critical to me as my own. What the hell does that mean? We live, or we die, together. The shelter shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere above, metal screamed. They have found us, she said. Scrappers? She nodded. They mistake the core of my vessel for raw energy. They will extract it, then sterilize the area. We are contamination. Martin swallowed. Survival had just become mathematical. What's your name? She tilted her head. Names have no weight among strangers, but you may call me Celeste, Martin. Another tremor. The lights flickered. A red light began pulsing. Life support, he muttered, eyes on the flickering panel, scrubbers failing. Celeste watched him work. Can you repair it? Maybe, if you stop looming. She stepped back. He pried open a corroded panel. Old circuits, half-fused. He rerouted power from external lights to the oxygen scrubbers. Red lights dimmed. The air cleared. The room breathed again. But not for long. Thermal systems dead. He said. Regulators fried. Replacements in the sublevel. She walked to a collapsed passage. Without ceremony, she lifted the rocks aside. One by one, stone groaned under her strength. He stared. Damn, remind me not to piss you off. She didn't smile. Retrieve the regulator. He descended. Darkness swallowed him. Water sloshed around his boots. The air tasted of copper and mold. But he found the component, cradled in a shattered locker like a prize. When he returned, soaked and shivering, she was still there, standing guard. He fitted the piece in. Power surged. Warm air flowed. He slumped against the wall. We bought time. She said nothing. Minutes passed. The room was quiet except for the hum of systems and the faint groan of pressure overhead. He pulled a photo disc from his pocket, activated it. A woman and a child, both smiling, laughing. My wife, my daughter, the reason I'm out here. Chasing credits to pay off debts. Chasing hope. Celeste knelt beside him, eyes on the image. I understand legacy, she said. My people do not measure value in currency. We preserve memory. Our greatest minds, our most sacred souls, are stored. Within this, she held up a small, glowing orb on her belt. It pulsed gently. The heart of Xyler. She said, they think it is an energy core. It is not. It is history. Martin whispered. They're trying to mine your ancestors. Yes, he stared at her. When you said you were claiming me, I vowed to protect your life as I protect this heart. With everything, even in exile. A burst of static cut through the silence. An old console buzzed to life. Cygnus Corp. Martin. Froze. The voice. Containment confirmed. Begin Phase 2. Planetary sterilization. No witnesses. Cella's sighs went hard. A massive impact rocked the shelter. The main door glowed red. Something began drilling through. They're not waiting anymore, Martin said. We need a plan. His eyes flicked to the generator. I can turn that into an EMP. Fry every system within 100 meters. It'll kill the scrappers and everything in here. Do it. He worked fast. Wires flew. Safeguards bypassed. Above, drones began to flood in. Celeste met them with fists and fury. The generator screamed as it overcharged. 10 minutes. He shouted. We hold for 10. They fought. They endured. And in the final moments, crouched together behind a barricade, he whispered, I'm scared. Not of dying. Of dying for nothing. Celeste said softly, our souls sing, Martin. Even far from home. Even here. Even together. And in her golden eyes, he saw something unexpected. Faith. Not in gods. Not in machines. In him. And maybe, just maybe, in them. When the EMP detonated, it wasn't light or flame that consumed the shelter. It was silence, sudden, absolute. The drills stopped screaming. The drones collapsed mid-crawl. The calm screen died with a final flicker. Every sound, every hum of energy or click of machinery vanished. Martin blinked. For a moment, the silence was almost peaceful. Then the cold hit. The heat systems were gone. Air circulation was now passive, relying only on pressure gradients. Everything not powered by body heat or mechanical momentum was simply dead. Celeste moved first, always graceful, even now. She crouched by the sealed entry where sparks still glowed on the ruined doorframe. One golden eye peered into the wrecked hallway beyond. They will adapt, she said, voice low. They always do. What do we do now? Martin asked, wrapping his arms around himself. His fingers were already numb. We run. He stared at her. Through the canyons. No, she said, and gestured downward. Through the mining tunnels. There's a path under this moon. And my ship lies buried at its edge. He looked at her in disbelief. You think it still works? I believe in necessity, she said. So they moved. Down past the sublevel where he'd found the plasma regulator. Down into a darkness untouched even by emergency lights. She walked ahead. Her skin glowing faintly blue in the dark. Her braids swaying like a pendulum of stars. He followed. And deep below, with scrappers still clawing at the surface above, they began their descent. The tunnels below for hours, they descended. The mining tunnels were older than Martin expected, older even than the outpost itself. Carved into the belly of Zyos before the first colonists had arrived. The tunnels weren't on any map, certainly. Not the ones issued by the now ruined prospecting corp that had sent him here. He followed Celeste through collapsing arches and narrow stone corridors lit only by her faint bioluminescence. Her skin shimmered like dusk-stained frost, her every step silent despite her size. Martin coughed into his arm. The air was damp, but breathable. Barely. We'll have to rest soon, she said. He nodded, grateful. His body ached from the cold and strain, from the adrenaline drain. When she finally stopped in a small chamber framed by crystal growths, he sank to the floor, Without ceremony. Celeste knelt beside a dead console embedded into the wall. Her fingers skimmed the surface until a faint hum answered. A backup cell. Still lived. This was a survey point, she said. Xyler engineers used it for calibration. Yours? My people were here before yours, she said. Long ago. Before the companies. Before the greed. We left when the stars called us elsewhere. Martin leaned back against a crystalline column, breath fogging in the cold. And now you're back? Because of the heart, she said simply. It was buried here. I came to retrieve it. He thought of the glowing orb at her side, the legacy of her kind, 1,000 voices pulsing inside. You risked everything for it. I was chosen to do so. Legacy chooses its own bearer. They shared silence for a moment, broken only by the soft wind whispering through distant shafts. It sounded almost like voices, mournful, ancient. Do you hear them? She asked. What? The echoes. He listened, and slowly, the whisper became clear, not language, not words, but tones. Harmonic threads like the bones of a song. It's beautiful. He said. It is memory. Celeste lowered herself to sit across from him. She reached into a side pouch and pulled out a protein wafer. She handed it to him. And when he hesitated, she broke it in half. It is safe, she said. Thanks, they ate in. Quiet. Time passed unmeasured. Below the surface, there were no hours, only heartbeats and fading warmth. I keep thinking about my family, Martin said after a while. They think I'm still up there, alive. Searching. You are alive, she said. And searching, for what? Survival, freedom, some kind of redemption, perhaps, or perhaps for meaning. He met her eyes. There was no judgment in them, just truth. Do your people believe in fate? We believe in convergence, she replied. When two trajectories intersect in a moment neither can escape. It is not fate. It is mathematics. He laughed, a tired, bitter thing. And we believe in blind chance, luck, or bad luck. Then perhaps, this is both, a collision of logic and chaos. He let his eyes drift shut, her words echoing. When he woke, she was gone. He sat up fast, panicked. The chamber was empty except for a thin trail of luminescent residue leading deeper into the tunnel. Celeste. No answer. He grabbed the small torch from his pack and followed. After a winding descent, he found her crouched near a collapsed mining shaft. Her back was to him, head tilted in concentration. What is it? The tunnel's compromised, she said. We must divert through the lower aquifer channel. That sounds like a death trap. It is a risk, but the others are closed. Martin exhaled. He was tired of being scared, of being cornered by circumstance. If the path forward was water and darkness, then that was what they'd face. Lead the way. They squeezed through a jagged opening in the wall. The aquifer tunnel was narrow, and the floor sloped downward at a worrying angle. Faint blue moisture coated the walls. Then came the water. Not a trickle, but a submerged corridor. Celeste paused at the edge. We swim from here, 15 meters. On the other side is the floodgate control. I haven't done breath training since basic. You will manage. I will guide you. He nodded, more afraid than he let show. They plunged in together. The cold hit like a weapon. The darkness swallowed him. Hands guided him, strong and sure. He followed the pressure of her grip, the faint glow of her skin. Then light. They emerged in a chamber that pulsed with violet illumination. An old control node, flooded but still intact. Martin coughed hard, gasping. I'm alive. Yes, she said. And the gate responds to your biometrics. Human tech layered over Xyler bones. He stumbled to the console, fingers shaking. With some coaxing, the system blinked green. A distant rumble echoed through the rock. A path opened. Celeste stepped close. Her hand grazed his shoulder, steadying him. Warm. We are near, she said. Your ship, yes, and danger. They walked. The tunnel widened into a massive chamber, and there it was. Her vessel. Half buried in crystalline growths, silver and black, shaped like a teardrop fallen from space. The markings along its hull shimmered with meaning. It's beautiful, Martin whispered. She is called Nihil, the silent chord. As they approached, a ripple passed through the chamber. A red light blinked. Motion sensors, scrappers. A headless drone scuttled over the ridge. Then another, and another, Celeste's body tensed. Defensive mode. The ship can fight. But she must wake. You must enter and initiate sequence. She will respond to you, to your DNA. They will not expect that, me. Why, you carry foreign code. Your presence will confuse them. He didn't argue. He ran. As Celeste leapt into battle, her form a blur of power and precision. Martin sprinted up the ramp and into the vessel. It was quiet inside. To quiet. He found the command core, placed his hand on the biometric plate. The ship responded. Sequence accepted. Human hybrid signature detected. Awakening protocols engaged. Lights flared. Outside. Celeste faltered, surrounded. Hold on, he whispered. Energy surged through the hull. Plasma vents ignited. The ship screamed its return to life and fired. A wave of pure force swept the chamber. Drones shattered. Sparks flew. When Martin emerged, she was on one knee, breathing hard. He knelt beside her. Are you intact? She said, and smiled, her first smile. He helped her inside. We're not safe yet, she said, but we have a chance. That's all I need. And for the first time, Martin believed it. The deeper they went, the more the tunnels stopped resembling anything built by human hands. The first levels below the shelter had the bones of a mining colony, rusted railings, tracks, and carts abandoned mid-haul. But now, as the walls turned, smooth and glossy, as strange glyphs shimmered faintly on the surfaces like frost catching invisible moonlight, Martin realized they were in something far older. Celeste walked with familiarity here. This was not made by your people, he said, softly. No, she replied, voice reverent. This place predates even the Xyler. It is a cathedral of the ancient architects. When we came here centuries ago, we found echoes of thought in the stone, not voices, not ghosts, resonance, like an instrument, still vibrating after its last note. Martin touched the wall. It hummed faintly under his palm. Not just a sound, but a feeling like emotion had been carved into the very rock. These tunnels reach far, Celeste continued, beneath this region, beneath even the vaults where our ship lies hidden. It is said they connect worlds that never knew each other. Martin blinked. You think they're that vast? I know they are. But right now, we only need one path. Come. They stopped briefly in a domed chamber with a ceiling that arched so high it disappeared into shadows. A central daze pulsed with dim, green light, casting their long silhouettes against murals that seemed to move subtly. When he wasn't looking directly at them, rest here, Celeste said. Just for a moment, your body falters. Martin wanted to deny it, but he was exhausted. The crash, the fight, the cold, the constant alertness. It was chewing through him. He leaned against a pillar. Your ancestors ever leave directions? Maybe an arrow or a glowing line that says ship this way, she almost smiled. Almost. They left instinct. An instinct I trust more than arrows. As she walked to one of the walls, Martin closed his eyes. Just for a breath. Just for a moment. He didn't mean to sleep, but he must have. He woke to her standing over him, holding a palm out. They're close again, she said. I feel their pulse. The scrappers adjust. They are spreading down. Hunting. He stood, groggy. We go now, she nodded. We go fast. They descended a narrow spiral tunnel carved into raw black stone, following a current of air that felt unnaturally warm. Soon, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber lit by bioluminescent moss clinging to enormous rib-like structures arcing from wall to wall. At the far end rested her ship. It looked like something grown rather than built, sleek, dark, partially embedded in rock, like it had emerged from beneath the moon itself. Tendrils of metal trailed from its sides like roots. Cracks veined its hull, but it still pulsed with power. She lives, Celeste whispered, her fingers brushing the surface. Martin stood in awe. This is yours, mine, and theirs, the last Vindicator vessel that held the heart. We call her Tethera. He stepped closer. Can it fly? Not without repairs. But its systems can hide us, cloak us, maybe even fight for us. We must reach the core. Inside was no cockpit, no chairs or joysticks, just a central chamber filled with smooth, liquid-like walls and a floating sphere of amber light. Interface is done psychically, she said, placing her hand to the sphere. A cascade of holograms exploded around them, maps, energy readouts, damage reports, an entire symphony of data. You can read this. I can feel it. The heart guides me. She moved with elegance, directing systems to activate, power to reroute. What can I do? He asked. She turned to him. You understand machines. The mechanical parts of this ship are ancient. You may not know their design, but the principles, those are yours. Help me bring the systems online. Then we plan. And so he worked, rerouting shattered power conduits, repressurizing chambers, replacing coolant cells that resembled glowing coral. They worked together for hours, and slowly, the ship breathed. They shared no food, only water from her stores. They spoke little, but the silence grew companionable, not hollow, not tense. If this works, Martin said one evening, lying on the padded floor beside the sphere, where will you go? She didn't answer right away. Somewhere the heart can rest, somewhere the dead are safe. And me? She looked at him, really looked. Her hand, larger than his by far, brushed his cheek. You were claimed, not just for survival. What does that mean, to be claimed? Beyond the words, her voice turned quiet. It means I've chosen you, I've shared your breath, fought beside you. And in the silence of this old place, I found your soul beside mine. If we live, I will not leave you. Martin didn't know what to say, only that her words warmed places in him the cold hadn't reached. Outside, the tunnel walls shook again. They were coming. The ship's external sensors pinged dozens of movement signatures. Scrappers, in organized rows, were descending through alternate entrances, not the way Celeste and Martin came, but from side tunnels they hadn't noticed. They will surround us, she said. We must act. Now, the EMP won't work again. No, she agreed. But there's another way. She led him to the ship's aft chamber, where strange coils of metal circled a sphere of dark matter. This is the breach core, she said. A teleportation system. But it's unstable, rarely used. It tears the space between. Can it send us? Off the moon? Not far, not safely, but enough to place us outside their grid. What's the risk? She stared at the sphere. Disintegration, molecular scramble, incorrect reassembly. Martin exhaled. So a chance, or certain death. She met his eyes. I will go first. If the breach accepts me, I will call to you. If not, then I follow anyway. She stepped into the chamber. The sphere pulsed, flared, consumed her in a burst of light. Silence. Then his wrist comp miraculously revived from the ship's systems buzzed. One word on the screen. Come. He stepped forward. For her. He whispered. For the future. He vanished. The climb back through the tunnels was slow and brutal. Every step Martin took was heavier than the last. Pain radiated from his ribs where he'd been slammed against the wall during the last quake. His suit was torn at the knees, caked in mud and dried blood, and his muscles trembled from exhaustion. Celeste moved ahead of him, tireless, her massive silhouette glowing faintly in the dark, guiding him like a star in the endless underground. Neither of them spoke. Every noise mattered. Now, each echo could be a scrapper regrouping, another seismic tremor, or the first sign of the sterilization charge being deployed. The tunnels above them had collapsed in some places, but Celeste remembered paths long lost to the surface maps, ones carved in old mining expansions and partially natural fault systems. She walked as though led by instinct, as though her people had walked these depths 1,000 times before. When they reached a massive vault door sealed decades ago, she stopped. Beyond. Here's my ship, she said quietly. It may be inoperative, or it may still sing. We will not know until we try. How do we open it? Martin asked, leaning against the cold metal. She stepped forward, placing her hand on the center of the vault. Her palm glowed. The orb on her belt, the heart of Xyler, hummed in response. Lines of ancient glyphs lit up, stretching outward. From her hand like veins of fire across the vault. The metal groaned, not from resistance, but from recognition. Then, with a hiss of escaping pressure and a thunderclap of internal locks disengaging, the door slid open. Inside was a chamber not unlike a cathedral, a domed hangar buried deep beneath the planet's crust, and at its heart, her ship. It was unlike any vessel Martin had seen, sleek but curved, black but pulsing with deep blue veins of energy. like it was alive, like it had been sleeping. She still dreams, Celeste whispered. Martin followed her inside, his boots clanking on the polished obsidian floor. It was quiet here, impossibly quiet, the kind of silence that carried reverence. This place is sacred to your people. Celeste nodded. Only vindicators may access burial ships. They carry fragments of those we've lost, memories stored in the hulls, in the engines, in the pulse of the core. So this isn't just a vessel, it's a tomb and a sanctuary, she added. But if we're to live, it must become something more. Martin approached the ship's access hatch, watching as it opened at her touch. The air that escaped was warm, fragrant, filled with an unfamiliar sweetness. This ship, she said, looking at him, was meant to carry legacy. Now it must carry you. He hesitated. You still want to keep the vow? He asked. Even after all this, Celeste stepped closer. I have not only kept it, Martin. I have expanded it. You are not just my survival partner. You are part of the heart now. Your story, your fight, your losses, they are known, felt, remembered. By the orb, by the song. For a moment, he thought she might touch him. Not just the practical kind of contact they had shared before, but something more. Something vulnerable. Her gaze was fierce, but behind it, a warmth burned quietly. Before he could speak, the lights in the chamber flickered. Celeste turned sharply toward the console beside the hatch. Glyphs on the screen pulsed an alarm. They are above. Directly. They've traced us. Martin looked up at the arched ceiling. Can they breach this deep? Yes. They will come with heat blowers, not drills. We have minutes. We must launch. But you said the systems might be. If we don't try, there will be no systems left to repair. He nodded and ran inside. The cockpit was like entering a chamber of memory itself. Swirling panels lit with touch, and the ship responded to Celeste's presence with soft pulses, like a heartbeat. She seated herself at the command node. Martin dropped into the co-pilot's position, though there were no buttons. No sticks, only threads of light that moved with his hands. You will not pilot the way you know, Celeste said. You will ask. The ship will answer. Ask. Intention matters more than control. He focused. Imagine the engines humming, the lift, the break from the rock. The ship rose. Shuddering. Slow. But real. They were moving. Above them. Seismic vibrations shook dust loose from the hangar dome. The scrappers were here, but the ship pulsed brighter, stronger. Celeste reached toward the heart of Xyler, placing it into a cradle at the console. A hum filled the air, then a sound, not just noise, but music. Not made by strings or metal, but by memory and emotion. It filled the cabin, deep and resonant. Martin felt his heart seize and release. What is that? He asked, breathless. Our choir of legacy. It's beautiful. Celeste's voice was lower now. You are now a part of it. They broke through the final layer of rock. The ship screamed into the sky, shards of moonstone bursting around them. Behind, the sterilizers detonated. The underground collapsed in fire, but they were above it, past it, into atmosphere, and then space. Silent, clean, infinite. Martin let out a sound that was halfway between a sob and a laugh. We made it. Celeste turned to him. We have only just begun. He met her eyes. So where do we go? She paused, her gaze softening. Where your song leads. He took her hand. It was strong, warm, and for the first time since the crash, he didn't feel like he was falling anymore. In the vastness of stars, they had found something rare. Not just survival, but each other.